Hi, and welcome to another poorly produced YouTube video. I can only assume the lighting is terrible, the sound will be awful, and I thank you for being here. See, I am Rebecca Elson. I'm the publisher and primary writer for the Magical Buffet website, and I love you. And I hope that you love me too. Love me in such a way that you will subscribe not only to my YouTube channel, where you will continue to see the lowest quality video content anywhere on the internet, but also to my main website, The Magical Buffet, where I primarily post book reviews, occasionally interviews, occasionally excerpts from recent releases or upcoming releases. The usual sort of thing. And I wanted to tell you that if everything goes according to plan, you will be seeing this video on Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day. Hopefully everything worked. So you are seeing this on a day where me saying Happy Valentine's Day actually matters. And that I thought in order to celebrate the holiday, I would discuss the ever popular topic of love magic. Now, I have an outline, not a script, but what I wanted to start out with is that love magic is like a huge topic, and it could be the subject of many, many books and many, many videos, and that is not what I'm going to do. But what we're going to do today is focus primarily on romantic love, and we're going to be coming at it from a primarily American cultural perspective. I don't want to say magical perspective, but certainly from the American culture. And we're not going to be delving deep into the topic. Instead, we're going to be doing, what was it doing? Oh, yes. Today's magic will be the most basic of basic bitch magic. And it will be coming to you from a middle-aged white woman who makes the most basic of basic bitches. So congratulations. Also, back by popular demand, I already had a drink before I started recording, which is why my face is probably very flushed. That and the part where it's very warm in the room that I'm recording. But I also will be sure to continue drinking, and we will be discussing that later. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is the ethics of love magic. And you will commonly see the idea that it's not appropriate to use love magic essentially to coerce or cajole or manipulate another person. And I too ascribe to that theory. Many a popular short story, book, movie, television episode all go around the premise of using something to make someone fall in love with you and it immediately having negative repercussions. So I do ascribe to that theory, but I thought I should point out that there is, in fact, a really rich tradition in voodoo and hoodoo cultures that do use love magic in that kind of way. And to that I say, when left in hands of professionals, I trust it completely. I am not a professional anything, let alone a professional practitioner of voodoo or hoodoo. But I wanted to point out that it is that, and if you consult with someone who is, and they advise and say they can do something like that for you, and do it in a way that you feel is safe and ethical, that you do you. But on the whole, I feel like if you aren't really experienced in that magical tradition, you're not part of that culture, I say leave it to the professionals and let's just keep doing like the basic bitch version of love magic here. So if I tell you you can't do that kind of things, what can you do? So the first thing I like to always suggest, excuse me, is if you work with deities, you should talk to your deities about it. I have a altar of nothing but the scariest aspects of the divine feminine. I have a very casual, close relationship with my altar, and I tend to discuss things with them in that kind of manner. regardless of what kind of relationship you have, I feel it's always appropriate to petition and talk to the deities you work with about your romantic interests, and not, again, not petitioning them to make someone do something like to fall in love with you, but essentially discussing with them, you know, your romantic ideals, what you're looking for, what you want, why you want it, those sorts of things. And obviously, if you can, you should also make offerings to them if that's the kind of transactional arrangement you have with the deities in your home. But one of my basic suggestions that is literally zero effort if you already have an altar and have a relationship with deities is you should discuss it with your deities. There's also the classic of rose quartz. I always call rose quartz the teenage girl entryway into magic, and let me explain that. So, what first got me interested in magic was, of course, as a young girl, was in fact wanting my crushes to like me, that kind of thing. And one of the most basic, accessible really, pieces of information you will find is that rose quartz is good for love. So for quite a long time, I had rose quartz earrings, rose quartz bracelets, rose quartz necklaces. I kitted myself out in rose quartz. And rose quartz is pretty, and it's generally affordable. And so I say rose quartz gets the big lazy witch thumbs up for attracting love to your life. Obviously, if you want to take a deeper dive into crystals, you will find that there's a wide variety of crystals that are helpful for all kinds of aspects of love, magic, all kinds of aspects of love in general, emotions, that kind of thing. Again, not an expert, but, I would maybe suggest a Nicholas Pearson book, perhaps. You can find, I think, most of the books he's written in my bookshop. You can also find them at most reputable bookshops everywhere because he's kind of the new go-to for crystals as far as I'm concerned. And it seems like most everyone agrees. The other thing is the color red. Now, this is where the kind of American culture comes into it. We just celebrated the Lunar New Year, and my friends and I were discussing how red's a color of prosperity. But that's not so much the case in the US. Red is generally considered a color of love and passion, and occasionally pink as well. Pink, a lot of times, is associated in perhaps more innocent love, more like friendship, that kind of thing. But the colors red and pink, always considered to be potent for love. And so, again, personally, because I already have kind of a general rosacea face, and then obviously if I drank alcohol or anything, that only gets redder. I don't wear a lot of red clothing because it just kind of makes me look even more tomatoey in general. I do wear a lot of pink. I'm wearing one of my pale pink t-shirts today. But the colors red and pink, also good for attracting love to yourself, that kind of thing. Now, this is where we're gonna talk in real broad strokes. There is a whole world of food and drink magic for love. And I love any excuse to eat or drink anything. And in a little bit, I'm going to show you some of my favorite resources for that. But just a broad strokes guideline. Let's say, you don't want to spend a huge amount of time researching it. A lot of romantic love, food, and drink is very intuitive. So basically, things that kind of boost your metabolism, things that heat you up, are almost always associated with love and kind of as an aphrodisiac. So spicy foods, ginger, that kind of thing. Foods that are the colors associated with love. So foods that are red, foods that are pink, foods that in one way or another are in the shape of either sexual organs or hearts, things like that, also tend to be associated with love, sex, sometimes fertility. But that's like a nice shorthand. Like if you don't want to get into it all, there's a lot of intuitive nature to it that once you start reading more and more, you kind of learn that, yeah, you can find a lot more and you can certainly broaden your horizons way more than what I just did. But you can have a generally good instinct on a lot of things just by looking at it through that kind of lens. And that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about lazy. We're not talking about researching for, any sort of like, date night dinner or something like that. This is just like off the cuff. When it comes to drinking, alcohol is always associated with at least being an aphrodisiac. Sarah, you want to say hi? Sarah, hey, come here. You want to look in the camera? No, you can't have my cocktail. No, you can't. You really don't want to say hi to people. You just wanted to bust in here and sniff all my stuff. That's the plan? That was your big plan? Right now you're just eating into my video recording time. And she's gone. Anyway, now there's a fine line. I personally do find that alcohol has a bit of an aphrodisiac effect for me, but that's probably because I am in a long-term loving relationship with my husband and we both enjoy cocktails. And so I'm just going to say that that's probably a lot of it. What I'm not saying is you should never be using alcohol as liquid courage, a means to make someone pliable. Again, anytime you coerce someone, it never is going to end well for anyone. Just ever. So I can't believe I, of all people, am saying this, but be sure to drink responsibly, particularly in new relationships, new environments, things like that. Just, safety message from your basic bitch drinking buddy. Ding! Now we got that out of the way. Obviously, always associated with kind of getting loose. But beyond that, and this is obviously, people that know me know that I personally am a big rum fan. And rum, might I add, is one of the primo spirits for love and lust. Now, why? Because rum is distilled from sugarcane or molasses, but it's distilled from sweet things. And there's a huge tradition, especially in folk magic, of making things sweet to sweeten someone's opinion of you. So, that whole thing about like, my boss treats me like crap. If I go to get them a cup of coffee, I make it just a scooch sweeter to sweeten them towards me. That kind of vibe. And so rum is like distilled that. Oh yeah. Rum, National Rum Association, spokesmodel right here. So what I'm drinking today was supposed to be the perfect embodiment of this. This is rum, and I thought since last time I drank, I showed you what I was drinking. The rum that's in this glass is the Plantation Silver, the 3-star, which, let me just go off on a mild tangent. I have been very into Plantation rum lately. It's just, especially this one, it's such a workhorse. You can use it in drinks that you would normally use a darker rum. You can use it in things like mojitos. It is fabulous. Please sponsor me, Plantation Rum. I will work for booze. But anyway, so this was supposed to be rum, and then with ginger beer, better known to drinkers, discerning drinkers, and people who have followed my website for a while as a dark and stormy. I have devoted a considerable chunk of social media and internet content to the dark and stormy cocktail. The dark and stormy is rum, distilled love and lust right there, combined with ginger beer. And as opposed to ginger ale, ginger beer, generally, if you buy like a nice quality, which is what I like to do for this, has actual ginger in it. And so you've got that zing of the ginger for that extra boost. Now, what happened was I was first, as I said, I already had one drink in me, but I was also on automatic pilot. So I put in my rum, and instead of reaching for the ginger beer I had out, I reached for a lime yuzu tonic and put it in here, which is delicious and one of my favorite ways to consume rum these days. But it is not the dark and stormy. But if you haven't had a dark and stormy, I highly recommend it. They are attractive, they are delicious, and it is an incredibly potent love cocktail. Also, in going through the books, to just give a quick glance at booze, I was surprised to find that one of them referenced beer as an aphrodisiac, which I had already done a little research on beer when I was going to be helping at a local tap room and did not come across it then, but I don't know if it's because of the fertility aspect of the grains, but do with that what you will. And so I told you what I'm drinking. I gave you a few tips there. Let me, when it comes to enabling my drinking and eating, with regards to love, there are a few things that I go to. So one is the amazing witchcraft cocktails. This I reviewed, gave a favorable review on my website. I also made my favorite things list the year that it came out. And then we also have, this came out, I think, at the exact same time, uh, Amy Blackthorne's book, The Botanical Brews. Now, what's nice about this one is if you are not a drinker of alcohol, she provides alcohol-free cocktail substitutions and things like that, which is what kind of sets this one apart, as well as other things. And then if you are looking for, I cannot recommend this enough, if you are looking for a book that covers food and drink, and not just for romantic love, but just every aspect that love takes. So a familial love, a romantic love, the love of like best friends, like every aspect. I can't recommend enough Dawn Hunt's book. Her book, this is entirely devoted to love and romance. Also another favorite. It was in my favorite things, as well as getting a favorable book review when it came out. And this has everything. She could really, there's so much stuff. She could really write several more books just on this subject matter, and it would still be fantastic. So those are the book recommendations that I have. So what have we learned today? One, Rebecca gets a little sloppy after one drink and mixes up lime yuzu with ginger beer. Also, we learned that as far as my personal ethics go, and I think a generally good rule of thumb, it's just to not coerce others. All that stuff that when you're younger and you think sounds hokey about how, no, you should be doing magic to improve yourself, to make yourself feel better about yourself, to help attract things to you. It's to repel negative things. And it sounds kind of hokey when you're a teenage girl and you just want a guy to like you. But once you grow up a little bit, you learn, no, that's really the best way to practice love magic. Also, my personal magic theory, and it is, in fact, very much the lazy girl's guide, is use your own instincts and your own intuition when it comes to things like this. Just because a book says that something is or isn't associated with love, if it gives you the feeling of love, if it rings true to you, use that. You don't have to make sure to have every little thing by the book to get the results that you need. What you need to have is a belief and a commitment to yourself and the work that you're doing. And the best thing I can say about when you do love magic correctly, it ends up being kind of like the Rolling Stones song. You can't always get what you want, but you'll get what you need. So try to have faith in yourself. Try to put your trust in your fellow man. Imbibe alcohol responsibly. A reminder that you should subscribe to my website. You should subscribe to my YouTube channel. And maybe if you're feeling extra ballsy, you might want to subscribe to my Patreon, where you will, at the very minimum, see tons of cute dog photos, get a monthly tarot forecast. Lately, I've been giving a little behind the scenes peek about upcoming books that are releasing. And I've been doing some after dark photo sets of yours truly in hopefully some sexy-ish looking photos. So thank you for tuning in. I hope you have a wonderful Valentine's Day. Remember that I love you and that I want you to love my channel. Good night.